Okay, so today our learning goal is I can use the formula for the volume of a cylinder and cone. Well, this is not right. We're not doing spheres yet. So it's just cylinder and cone, okay? Don't look at this word spheres. We haven't learned that yet. And I can explain that the volume of a cylinder is found by multiplying the area of its circular base by its height, okay? So we're going to do a quick review because we are been gone for a week and our brains are mesh. And so here we go. Quick review over volume of cylinders and cones. All right. Remember that on our formula chart, we have volume formulas, and they are right here. And a cylinder is right here, and a cone is right here. The difference is that a cylinder is big BH, and a cone is 1/3 times big BH. And I want to say we had a practice before we left on break. And some of you do not do very well by going back and forth, back and forth. Some of you still are trying to fight writing your 3 steps. It's just not possible to do. You're going to need to write your 3 steps, all right? So, remember that you will always find your big B in this section that says area. And fortunately for us, for a cylinder or a cone, it's always going to be the area of a circle, and that formula is pi r squared, okay? So, with that being said, let's fill out our notes. So the formula for the volume of a cylinder, it is V equals big BH. So V equals big BH. And the formula for the volume of a cone, V equals 1/3 big BH. So if a cylinder and a cone are the same height and have the same base, in other words, they have the same radius of their base, which is that circle, the cone will hold 1/3 the volume of the cylinder, or you could say that as the cylinder will hold 3 times the volume of the cone. What is big B? Big B, remember, is not just base. If you say base, I want to come and get you. It is the area of the base. Okay, that is what big B represents, the area of the base. And for volume, our area so far of the base has always been the area of a circle. So when we write our big B formula for both a cone and a cylinder, we are using pi times r squared, okay? Because that's for a cone and a cylinder, because it's a circle. I guess the other thing we need to remember is that in that formula, it is an R, not a D. So the R is only halfway across the circle. If you're given a D, which is all the way across the circle, then you would take your D value, divide it by 2, and that would equal your R value. Okay? Find the volume of the cylinder. So, first step, 3 steps every time. V equals big BH. I am looking at a cylinder, so big BH. I am going to then write my big B is pi times r squared, and I still need to then multiply it times the height of the cylinder. I'm going to identify my parts. I've got an R, so that's good, and that is 6. And then I've got a H, which is 17. So I'm going to write now pi times 6 squared times 17. And you notice I'm using a time sign because we're going to be seeing decimals sometimes, and it just keeps us from getting confused. Now, I'm still fighting people at writing the 3 steps, but I'm giving you 0 credit if you have not written your 3 steps. The reason is because, yes, you have a calculator. It does the hard calculations for you. It makes it simple, but I get to still see your work. And this tells me this is what I put into my calculator. Okay, so second pi times 6 squared. Uh-oh, I'm on the wrong screen. Second pi times 6 squared times 17, and I get 1922.6544704. I'm just going to round it to the nearest hundredth, okay, for now, since it doesn't say one way or the other. All right, then I have to find the volume of the cone. Well, V equals, now remember, you guys have got to remember there's a difference in the formula, okay? A cone is 1/3 big BH. But some of you just keep writing 1/3, just write big BH, or you do the 1/3 for the cylinder. You got to pay attention to what you're doing. So I'm going to identify my, well, I'm going to go ahead and write 1/3 times, what's my big B? Well, it's a circle again, a base, pi times r squared, then times the height of my cone. So, we've got mixed numbers. So we're going to have to convert those to decimals unless you use alpha F1. So I'm just going to put 1 divided by 4, hit enter, and now I'm just going to write my whole number down and add my decimal, and that's my height. And here I've got 4 6/8. So I'm going to write 6 divided by 8 in my calculator, and I'm going to write my D is 4.75. Okay, so do I want a D? I don't got a D in this formula, do I? So I need to divide that by 2. So I'm going to put in my calculator 4.75 divided by 2. And there is my answer. Do not round that. Use the whole thing. So when I took D and divided it by 2, I ended up getting 2.375. And I want to see all this work on your paper. There is no reason why you cannot write this down. So now I need to plug in all my information into my formula. Remember that 1/3 needs to go in parentheses. If you don't, when you get to spheres, every answer will be wrong. Times pi times my radius, which is right here, 2.375 squared, times my height, which is 6.25. Okay? So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do parentheses, 1 divided by 3, parentheses, times second pi, times 2.375 squared times 6.25, and hit enter. Do you know how many people, when I'm doing these notes, that I'm watching and they don't ever touch their calculators as they're taking notes? That's just unacceptable. You need to be using your calculator with me, okay? So I am going to put this volume at 36.91, and do you notice that I have a 7 here? So if I rounded to the nearest hundredth like I did the last one, I would need to raise the score with this 1, because that 7 then would make this, and if I do it to the nearest hundredth, I would do it to 36.92, because that 7 raises the score, okay? So, today's packet, let's take a quick look. Well, we talked about this already, a cone versus a cylinder and how the formulas are related. These are word problems, so you're going to have to be looking for the word cone, or the word that describes a cylinder. Can be a can, a cone could be an ice cream cone, it could be a party hat. There's questions about the different formulas. Be careful about when you have a diameter versus a radius, okay? And they're asking you about formulas. Shouldn't be too difficult. I don't see anything in here that's crazy. Remember what this says. This is one of those questions where the this is number 13. The diagram below shows a cylinder with a height of 22 inches. So this is your height. The volume of the cylinder, V, equals 22 times the, V equals big BH. If they've told you what H is, 22, what does that big B represent? I told you on your notes. It's on your notes, written plain and simple. Okay? Got a couple questions on the back, and you should do just fine. Have a great day.